And now,
ladies and gentlemen,
Please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to PreneurCast.
You know, business cards being swapped, beers being drunk.
Can I say a nasty word? Can I say procrastination?
With Pete Williams and Don Kocher.
how well did that go down?
Talk about that entire thing in a very another rant and soapbox episode if we want to.
Visit us online at preneurmarketing.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's PreneurCast with me, Dom Goucher, and him, Pete Williams.
Howdy, hi. How are you?
Very well, sir. Very well.
Fantastic.
This week, folks, stay tuned, where you can hear how Pete got some lessons in marketing after insulting somebody on his blog.
Very interesting conversation.
It's great. So what have we been working on this week, Pete?
A couple of things, really. I'm in between half Ironman races. I had one here in Melbourne last Sunday, and I've got one in Geelong next Sunday. So doing, two back-to-back, which is interesting. So that's been the crazy shenanigans of my week this week, mixed in with working on a new podcast.
Yeah,
is exciting.
I've been helping you out with the technical side of that. It's quite an exciting project, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of other stuff wrapped around it too, which is super exciting. But if you've been following the blog at preneurmarketing.com, you'll probably see there's been a couple of recent posts in a related but slightly different direction. The podcast is going to be related to that topic. So check out the site and see if you can play detective and figure it out. But we will be announcing it in a much more official way, probably in a couple of weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, and this, folks, is an example of what we make sure we try and tell you guys to do, which is pick an audience and make sure you speak directly to them. And what Pete's working on right now, it's not core PreneurCast audience stuff, and so he made the decision to spin off and create this focused podcast to speak directly to that audience. And I'm not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on which comments you read on the podcast, but I'm not on this show. And that said, moving swiftly on. So, as we always talk about, Pete, because as well as your over-energetic in between Ironman stuff that you do every week and all your training, you very often are listening to something while you're training, or just picking stuff up that you've been sent by publishers. What's on the book of the week list this week?
So in terms of the Audible book of the week, which obviously is a great sponsor of ours, Whole, Rethinking the Science of Nutrition has been the book that I've been listening to at training this week. It's about plant-based nutrition and sort of all about the health benefits and the lifestyle benefits and all that sort of stuff, which has been really interesting. I'm really loving that sort of plant-powered stuff. We can blame Rich Roll, who was on the show a while ago now, and also Matt Fraser from NoMeatAthlete.com to sort of,
Indeed.
again, on the show recently to push that in me, which has been really cool. So that's been awesome. If you want to get a copy of that book, audibletrial.com/PreneurCast, audibletrial.com/PreneurCast, where you can go and grab yourself a free copy of a audiobook, and obviously Whole is this week's recommendation. Also,
can I just ask, actually, on that point?
Sure.
Because I know you have your Iron Man tattoo.
Yes.
Are you going to get the No Meat Athlete little carrot as well?
Nah, I don't think I can go that far. I think Matt and I did talk about that on the show, but I'm not going to go that far with that sort of tattoo.
Cool. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
The other book that hit my desk this week, which is kind of exciting, is Get Rich Slow by Sarah Ragelhoff, I think. Hopefully I haven't pronounced her name incorrectly. A great book by an Australian entrepreneur about, she's in the finance game and helps a lot of people in that space. And the book's a very different approach, I guess, to get rich quick, obviously. So it's been an interesting flick and an interesting read, and we'll probably get Sarah on the show in a couple of weeks' time as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, and you can ask her how to pronounce her name.
Yes, I should do that, shouldn't I?
On that, this is a complete aside, right, and a slight detour, but somebody completely random, I was watching the Wimbledon last year, and one of the sportscasters on there made this amazing suggestion. It makes totally amazing sense. Makes more sense to somebody like me with a weird name than somebody like you with an ordinary name. But he said, look, everybody that has got anything to do with being in the public eye or whatever ought to have as part of their press kit a little video of them saying their name properly. Because the number of times, especially in things like tennis and all sports, there's all kinds of names all over that. So yeah, you should maybe mention that to Sarah.
Yeah, it's a great idea. We'll have that in our conversation. I'll try and insult somebody else, because it seems to work really well.
It's working really well, that's an awesome segue. That is an awesome segue into our topic for this week, which is, genuinely, this really happened, didn't it? You wrote a post on your blog recently, basically slapping somebody's marketing, questioning their sanity.
Yes.
And they got back to you about that, didn't they?
Yeah, we kind of talk about it in the conversation here with Penny from Xero. So Xero is, as I talk about in the interview, one of the most amazing pieces of software. It was an award winner in our last week's show, the annual PreneurCast Awards, which we suggest you check out. But Xero is a great software for managing your accounting and bits and pieces. And it's a bit of a boring kind of topic generally, but they do make it beautiful, which you'll understand that link as you listen to the conversation with Penny. But they did some stuff recently which I wasn't a fan of and couldn't really justify, in our direct response, Preneur-style marketing approach to business. And I called them out on it on a blog post. And then their CEO saw that blog post, reached out to me on Twitter, very politely said, well, actually, we were tracking it because it's different to what we normally do as well, and it was successful. And I said, okay, well, come on, let's go, prove it. Let's duke it out on an episode of PreneurCast. And he handballed that responsibility to Penny, who's their marketing manager. We have a big conversation about how to, how they are going about marketing their business. And they're doing an exceptionally good job because their share price or their stock price is up 300 or 400% in the last 12 months. So they're absolutely killing it on some level, obviously. So it's just interesting to see how they're marketing their software, how they're taking a slightly different approach to reaching the end users through partners and a network as opposed to direct to the user itself. So it's a very cool conversation touching on a whole bunch of stuff that I think, we can all take away and think about how we can apply this in our own businesses and our own projects.
Yeah, and just before we hand over to that, because it is a really interesting perspective on marketing and their particular situation. I think it's applicable. We'll talk about it later. But one thing I will emphasize with this is even though Xero is a small business accounting package, that by Penny's own admission, she's not an accountant. There's barely a mention of credits and debits. This is an all marketing conversation.
Yes, very true.
Cool. So with that, folks, again, loads of value in this, so listen carefully as Pete talks to Penny from Xero Software.
Penny, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete. Good to be here.
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned earlier in the introduction, that this kind of conversation came out of me publicly berating Xero. So I really appreciate you taking the time because what happened was obviously Xero Personal is one of the product suites that you've had as Xero for personal people to manage their finances and things like that, which I loved and used myself, and obviously use the main core element of Xero for a number of businesses and projects that I'm involved with. And when Xero announced they were going to cancel the personal element of the product suite, I got disappointed and wrote a blog post about alternatives after doing some investigation and speaking with people I knew. And as the introduction of that blog post started, I kind of had a bit of a go at Xero's marketing team about some street posters that you guys did around Melbourne. Now, a lot of people are probably familiar, particularly if you're in Melbourne, that one of the really cool cultural things I find about Melbourne as a city is the street posters that have kind of been a thing, a staple of particularly the music scene here in Melbourne, which is quite prevalent, that bands and theatre shows and stuff like that do a lot of street posters and put them all around Melbourne. And you guys did a campaign with that, which is very rare to see a business doing a campaign like that, which I thought was, ballsy and good. But, the ads were sort of like just a green poster that had doors open, then the Xero logo. No kind of call to action or no conversation about what Xero was. And I was very bemused about why you would do that if you can't really necessarily track it with no clear call to action, because I'm very much a direct response type guy. And then what I loved was the CEO, Rod, saw my post on Twitter, obviously, with some good social media management, no doubt, saw the tweet about the post, read the post, and tweeted me back saying, actually, the local campaigns have performed very well. Not a natural thing for us to do, so you monitor them closely. Which I thought was amazing for him to actually reach out and, know that the post was up there, reach out, give me some feedback, and then
through a bit of conversation, suggested that he probably wasn't the best person to speak about the marketing of Xero, and basically threw in the deep end to answer that and also just talk about what you guys are doing in general, because I think a lot of other stuff you do is really smart. So before we go into the smart stuff, put me back in my box, tell me to shut up and tell me how the street campaign actually worked really well.
Well, first of all, thanks for that nice little wrap up. So essentially that was just one element of our Do Beautiful Business campaign that we launched in September last year, 2013. And, if people don't understand the background of Xero, essentially we've always promoted ourselves directly to our partners, which are accountants and bookkeepers. And that's been always our clear marketing strategy of promoting ourselves to the channel, and then the channel would then promote themselves to the clients, as in the end users. One of the things that Xero recognised, and obviously we are in a fast-paced business, we recognised, and mainly from our partners, they said, look, if our clients, as in the end users, knew more about Xero or even just heard of Xero, half our job would be done. And they just needed, our partners told us that they really just needed that people understood, A, what Xero was, had heard of them, Xero with an X, and B, what do they do? And then they would then be able to talk to their clients as their financial advisors about the product and why it would work for them and how it would work together. So it really was a response to that, and we went out to the market for the very first time to the end user, and we recognised that the first thing we needed to do was to actually say hello and introduce ourselves. So the campaign, which is what we've called phase one, and there are other stages of the campaign which we're about to roll out, we called the first stage Hello World, and it was very much, we are Xero. The campaign line was Do Beautiful Business, because we recognise that people go into, small business because they're passionate about something. They love making, pots. They love baking bread. They love making a coffee. They're financial experts or insurance, etc. They don't go into business because they love accounting software. So that's the whole, we enable you to do beautiful business. Get on with your business, and, we'll provide a software to you that'll actually let you do it and move on and, make, sell, bake, etc. So that's where the tagline came out of. And then the other layer of the campaign as well is that, as you've already said, Xero is quite different in the way we do things. And although we wanted an above-line campaign, and we used the traditional radio, print, local print, billboards, digital, SEO, etc., we wanted to do something unexpected. And the unexpected was those, what I call them, rock street posters. Yep. And so that's sort of how they came about. And that's pretty well the way we approach all our marketing is, well, where wouldn't you expect accounting software? And, why are we different? And really that is our point of difference, is that we are different. And thus the street posters came from that. So they're actually quite a small element of an integrated campaign, but they probably got the most amount of social media attention. Yep. And I think, as you say, it was because they were, wow, I expect a band poster, and there I've got an accounting software. Who would have thought? Yep. Yeah, so they were good, and we will continue to do stuff like that, going forward. A slight bit of a twist. Yep. But yeah, no, we love them. Very cool. And I think, in that context, I can sort of see how it works, because, I'd love to sort of, give people context as well, because obviously, as you said, you go through a channel which is obviously the accountants and the financial planners. So unlike, I would be guessing that your major competitor is obviously MYOB, which is in Australia, yes, definitely. Yep. So Mint in the US, and obviously because you're a New Zealand-based company originally, aren't you? Is that right? We are. We are. We've got offices in New Zealand as a region, and obviously our global office is based in Wellington. We're in the UK, the US, and Australia, and then we have this other division called Rest of World. And that sort of, picks up all the others. Yep. But I think it was New Zealand, then UK, and Australia was the third region. Cool. So primarily the way, and this is what it sounds like from what you said, and please, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Sure. I'm going to put in my box and my place a lot through this conversation, I think, which is different and good. So unlike, I guess, most of your competitors, you have gone, I think, very strategically after the person who controls the end user's
mind when it comes to the finances. Obviously, most small businesses, as you said, they love baking bread, they love fixing cars, they don't like accounting. So they, put all their stuff into a shoebox and annoy the hell out of their accountant or financial planner, once a quarter when their BAS is due or their, reporting's due. Yeah. And I think by getting those people, those influencers, the accountants and the financial planners to then push onto their end users saying, hey, use Xero, go and sign up for Xero, obviously through us, and it'll make our lives easier. We'll be able to do better reporting for you. We'll be able to do it cheaper for you. We'll be able to give you better support, all that sort of stuff. It's been a very, very smart play on your behalf, I think, because, you are getting a trusted advisor to almost make the sale for you. So...
Yeah. And look, it works both ways, because for the accountant as well, they don't want to do a lot of that boring stuff as well. Yep. So the software does the boring stuff, and then the accountants and bookkeepers and advisors, they can get on to actually advising their clients. So they really do add value. So it takes out that whole layer of admin and tedious, time-wasting number crunching that both parties don't want to do but need to do, and gives them real-time reporting where they can actually make, real-time decisions that, help the business grow.
Yeah, which I think is very, very smart. So obviously the campaign you just did with the rock posters and the phase one sort of say hello was generally, fundamentally, it sounds like, to really support those salespeople, which is what they kind of are in a quasi sort of way, the financial planners and the accountants, to actually, when they actually are talking to this person about Xero, the end user not going, well, I want to use MYOB because I know what MYOB is. I've never heard of this Xero thing. I don't trust it. So I guess from that perspective, it's making their job a lot easier to actually push Xero stronger and have less resistance, which I think is very smart.
Yeah, and look, obviously through the phase one of the campaign, we spoke to our partners a lot to say, how can they leverage the campaign? Obviously how is it working for them? And they loved it because it really did just make their jobs easier. Yep. And that's always been Xero's priority, is to support our partners and help them grow, because that ultimately, helps the whole ecosystem grow.
So from that perspective, if we take away sort of trying to sell to the end user, which is where we started because of my rant about the street posters, what do you guys actually do from a marketing perspective? I think because there's a lot of people who listen to our show who have a channel underneath them and sell through a channel, and there's very little spoken about in the world of marketing about dealing and selling through a channel. So
channel marketing, sure.
What do you guys do around that? Because that's something that really intrigues me, and I know you've done it very well because your stock price is up 200-300% over the last couple of years, or last year, I think. So you're doing something right somewhere. So there's a lot of people to learn.
I can't take credit for all that stock price.
Hey, you're head of marketing. Marketing drives everything. Just take the credit.
That's right. I'll take the last 6 months worth.
Yeah.
So I suppose. I'm just trying to remember the question now. We've sort of gone a bit off track.
Selling to the channel.
Selling to the channels. So essentially, and it's not rocket science. We do two things. One of the most important elements of Xero is our face-to-face events. So we run continuous introduction events and roadshows for our partners to come and learn about Xero, introduce Xero to their practices, or one person in the business might be interested, but they need to convert the rest of their team. So we'll run every week. I think we run 20 to 30 events across the country.
Wow.
And that's obviously metro, regionals, anywhere, and then of course we do the double of that on online. The second layer of that is that we've really expanded into road shows, where we've got one in February for our partners, and that's really anyone on the partner journey, but it's usually the people who are just introducing their practices into Xero, so we call them Recruit and Bronze. And we run 20 events in 20 cities in February, and we're nearly at 80% capacity already. And I think we'll touch 5,000 people in the next month. Yeah. And that is obviously partners who then go back to their team to then, update what's going on with the product, what's coming through, training, particularly the add-on community. That's probably the biggest opportunity for our partners, is all the people that are creating add-on software that integrates with Xero's platform. So the events is one of the key elements. And then, of course, we have a really big user conference called XeroCon in every region, which is our hero event. But that's very much for people that have, they've come through the journey and they are 100% Xero all the way.
So is that mostly the end users, the actual small business owners, or for the accountants
just
again?
Partners. Yeah. just partners. And then the other element of that is that we run quite tactical campaigns for partners every month. And it's, it's small things like we might run free certification training for partners that month. And it is all about, sort of pushing partners through the journey. We have quite clear tier levels of partners. They might have just, be investigating who Xero is. The second stage is they might have 5 to 10 of their clients on Xero. And then once you sort of hit 50, 100, 100 plus, you go up the levels. Mm-hmm. And we, that's how we sort of track how engaged our partners are. So it really is those sort of two tactical campaigns, direct to partners and events. On top of that, we have built a lot of content marketing to support our partners. And as you said before, we recognise that our partners are selling Xero. So that's probably our priority now, is to tool them up.
Yep.
And to give them, relevant content to give to their small business clients, give them, how to run events, how to market themselves in SEO. We have a whole team dedicated to content marketing, just literally putting out information that our partners can use or give to their clients and get the cred for.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So they can sort of repurpose that stuff on their own websites or in their own newsletters and things like that? Is that the...
Yeah, they don't really repurpose it. I mean, they're so proud of the fact they're associated with Xero that... They
just pass it on.
Yeah, they just pass it on. And, that to us is success, and the fact that they recognise they're part of the ecosystem.
Yep.
And I think that's where, I've been with Xero for 6 months, and it really is an incredibly unique culture where we don't really consider our, people as salespeople or, clients. We really do call them, they're the ecosystem, the community, the partners. It's, we're all partners in it together. We're all benefiting.
Yeah, it is definitely something that I see from the outside when I look at Xero, and sort of is that it does have a very strong community. And obviously there's the add-on community too, which I want to delve into a moment. Yep. But let me ask you a question about the actual community, because obviously you had the personal product, which is how I first stumbled into the world of Xero a few years back, as I stumbled across Xero, because what happened for me, just for a boring story, is I used to use Quicken as my personal finance solution. And when I moved to the Apple Mac platform, it just didn't quite work well. It's Windows-based, so I had to run an emulator and all that sort of jazz. So then Xero Personal came along, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Yeah. Found that, and then from there went, okay, let's move some of our business projects across to Xero from the business perspective, and it makes it beautiful because we're like, multi-location businesses, all the amazing stuff that Xero gives.
Yeah.
And then obviously a few months ago, the rug was pulled out from that part of the community, and it makes sense if if the core focus of the business really is about the partners and really structuring that ecosystem, I can understand why you would drop the part of the business which is just creating distractions. And when I consult with clients and work with them, it's like, okay, let's start with getting rid of the distractions. And that's, from your perspective, exactly what you did, very wisely. But how, from a reputation management, because obviously there was no doubt a reasonable kickback from people who were disappointed. How did you manage that? Was it a conscious management, or did it sort of just because people understand that you come where Xero comes from in terms of its positioning and its care and its community, that they kind of dulled themselves, or did you have to manage that reputation a bit?
Look, obviously we were aware that people were very attached to Xero Personal, we took that as a real compliment as well.
Yep.
But we also, it was a conscious decision, obviously from Rod and the board all the way down, where we had to sort of make the call about where do we direct our ultimate, firepower. And with also the acknowledgement that through our financial advisor partner channel, private clients could still use the cash book. So there was still an option for them that was coming up naturally anyway. So what we've done, and we've done it a few times with the comms, is essentially as soon as we make an announcement, we tell everyone. We're incredibly transparent. And then we pretty well sit online for 24 hours from Rod to the, Chris Ridd, the MD of Australia, to all the product managers, and we respond on time straight away to all comments. We feel it's really important that you don't hide, that you're as transparent as possible and take the good and the bad. And, we actually did change our pricing plans this year in Australia, and we went from 3 prices to 7. And the reason we did that is because obviously, you know, business is expanding. The needs of our customers were changing. I mean, some were just very small businesses with, you know, one employee up to, you know, like still small business, but had, you know, they might be a catering company where they had 100 casual staff on their books. So we recognised that there was a pretty broad sweep. So we changed the plans. And that, you know, changing your price is, you know, can be a massive sort of shift. And, you know, one area we recognised that the backlash that we got for one of the plans, within 24 hours, we said, we heard you and we're changing it.
Yep.
So I think that's what has really blown me away by working at Xero is that not only do they listen, but they act and they're reasonable. And that comes from Rod all the way down. But it's very, you know, when we communicate out, we watch, we listen, everyone comments, and everyone at Xero has the chance to comment on social. There's no, you know, you can't say this, you're in that level, you know, from, we don't have receptionists, but, you know, from the most junior person all the way up is allowed to talk about Xero.
Which is such a great culture to build, which flows through and people can see it. If you're in that sort of Xero world as a client or a partner or whatever, you can sort of see that just comes through in a lot of different ways. Yeah,
very genuine, very transparent, listen to the community, act. And, you know, and obviously that's the way we'll continue.
So from what I see, obviously going back to sort of the community and how you've built that, obviously the biggest piece of the pie, it seems that obviously that's been consciously directed has been through the partners that have brought on clients. But there's also the other part which makes Xero so special is because it's cloud-based, obviously all the add-ons. By the integration of Xero with so many other applications, whether you're looking at doing sort of time management, invoicing, debt collection, billing, payroll. You'd be able to name them better than me, but there's, you know, I'm guessing hundreds or so, I don't know, partners.
Got 300 add-on solutions.
Which is fantastic.
And it's just growing every minute. So, that's probably the most exciting part, I would say, about the future of Xero is that add-on ecosystem.
Yeah.
I went to my first XeroCon in Australia in August, and I was just blown away by the add-on, you know, and people and the partners and the quality of the products. But, you know, all very similar style of companies where, you know, most of them are startups. Or, you know, they have joined Xero at the beginning and they've sort of ridden the ride and then they've taken their solution from region to, you know, across all the others. And they also, you know, would integrate with other systems, and that's the whole point. They should. We don't want to stop anyone, and that's why we had an open API. It's like, you know, the more people can develop a better system, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I would believe that would be obviously probably, I'm guessing, the biggest driver of just direct sign-up clients as well. Someone sort of going, oh, I want to use Shoebox to manage my receipts, or I want to use Vend as my point-of-sale software or something like that, and then going, okay, I want to use that software, and then falling in love with Vend and then realising, well, hang on, there's a better way to actually manage the back-end accounting side. Let's move to Xero away from MyOb or SAP B1 or something in between. That's been, I guess, be a big driver as well for sign-ups.
Yeah, it's definitely a push-pull, and we recognise from both sides. And we, you know, and I think we're sort of starting to go even beyond accounting software. I think we're more like a business platform. You know, because every SME needs a business system. And, you know, if we provide an open API where not only do they get great accounting software and payroll, which is our expertise, they can also get the best from others that are a similar culture as Xero.
Which I think is just amazing. So you mentioned you've got phase 2 and phase 3 coming. Like, I don't want to sort of necessarily I'd like you to let the cat out of the bag, but is there anything you can actually tell us about what is coming in terms of the marketing plan for Xero? For
Xero, well, I suppose probably more of the same.
Political answer, nice work.
Look, I have to say, you know, we have got a pretty good formula, and events is in Australia just growing and growing. Australia as a region for Xero is doing really well, so we're in a sort of a nice position where we can do things first, trial them, and then take, you know, we call it lift and shift, where essentially if it works in Australia, we can regionalise it for the UK, the US, etc. We, obviously from SEO and SEM, etc., that isn't run by the regions, that's run by our global head office, but being an online business, that's incredibly vital for us. Xero is all about scale. We have the demand, we just need to scale so that we can continue to deliver on that demand. So, we are growing our teams rapidly. We've gone from, I think we're at, when I joined there was about 50, and that was back in July in Australia, and now there's, 120 or something. So every week, there's a new sort of person joining the business. And that's reflective across all the regions. So, we are just sort of building our teams and the skill set within our teams to deliver. There's some really, really smart people here. It blows me away, actually, the collective brains and, what they can sort of do and at the pace that we can do. I think that's where Xero is working well, is that we're able to punch things out really quickly, quality things. I would say with our marketing, we will continue the above-line activity because it does support our partners, and it just builds credibility to the SME market that, A, you've heard of it, B, I made the right decision. And, we're starting to sort of shift with the end users where, our whole campaign was actually around what we call Xero love tweets, where people have tweeted in talking about how much they love Xero, unprompted by us. And it was just, gold from marketing. So we just amplified the voice of the customer. And I think that's, it's so easy, but it was, simple is best, in my opinion, with those sorts of things.
Yep.
Probably the only other thing that, you'll see a change, and that's all, reflective in the fact that our brand awareness is, getting stronger, is that we'll start to have a bigger sort of stronger presence in tier one media, tier one sponsorships and things like that. So we sort of want to get to the point where we're giving back to the community.
Yep.
And I suppose that was a lesson that I had to learn when I came to Xero, that it wasn't about us, it was about them. And, the design guys, and Xero lives and breathes design, kept drumming that in, saying, don't shout. The way that we bought our media and we continue to do it is we will never have a corporate, billboard at the airport, looking down at a freeway. We'll always have a street level poster in Chapel Street.
Yep.
Or, we'll never have sort of the big corporate tent at the Australian Open. We might have, a sponsor, the tennis balls or the water boys or something like that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, and it's a very genuine sort of strategy. But, as a marketer, I really had to learn that it wasn't about us, it was about them.
I like it. And I think that's, that sort of emulates as well as obviously what's actually happening. And particularly people are going to be more willing to tweet and talk about you socially if it is about them, they talk about themselves as opposed to feeling like they're supporting some big company that doesn't care, that's just all about the boardroom and the bottom line.
That's right. And, right back to do beautiful business. If you're doing beautiful business, well, then we're doing okay. Very cool.
Well, Penny, thank you so much for your time. I think for a lot of people, it's going to be interesting to sort of see me put back in my box a little bit. And congratulations on what you've been doing too, because, Xero, as I said, we use it in a number of our projects. I love it. And I did find it strange that you were doing some of the stuff you were doing. But, in the context of how you structured and where it fits, I can see that how it can actually support and help people and make their jobs a little bit easier, which are the partners, bringing new clients.
That's right. If you don't take a risk, what's the point?
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Pete, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate the chance to talk about Xero. It's a topic that I love. And, I'm, more than happy to sort of talk to your audience in future.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much. If they want to reach out to Xero and with tweets and things like that, what's the best way to sort of interact with you guys?
Yeah, look, obviously, we're prolific at in Facebook and LinkedIn and on Twitter, but
so it's just at Xero?
At Xero, that's right.
Xero for Twitter.
Xero with an X, yeah.
And Facebook's Xero.accounting, so /Xero.accounting.
That's right.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then LinkedIn. I definitely Facebook and Twitter are probably the easiest channels. We've got a Xero community for both our partners and for end users. And there's a lot, and just the Xero website, there's a lot of information on that, 4 small business guides. We just put up 8 small business guides, which are really fantastic, how to manage your cash books, how to do invoicing, how to get paid on time, that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
And we've committed to doing 4 a month going forward. So there will always be good content and a lot of video content that we encourage our small business customers to look at to help them.
Beautiful. Well, there is a lot of homework for people to do on the back of this, and I do encourage people to check it out because
go to Xero.com.
If you're running your business and you're getting to that point, sound like a bit of an ad for Xero, but I'm not an affiliate, I'm not a partner, I'm just a paid up client, and I really do believe in what you guys do. So,
thank you, appreciate it.
So I thought you came out of that quite well, Pete, considering you basically call them a bunch of idiots.
Not as many bruises as I was expecting. And look, I think, the branding type approach to marketing is a very controversial one. I still think, it's interesting approach for them, and I can understand how they can justify it, absolutely, to support their partners. And sometimes I think you have to do certain things in business to get the end result, which you're after, which in this case for Xero is obviously have their partners feel more confident in promoting their product. And also remember too that the partners who are promoting Xero to the end users are accountants. They're not marketers. So they don't necessarily understand the need for direct response and preneur style marketing. They just want to feel like their brand's got a presence. So sometimes you have to do things to meet that market. And I think what they've done is exactly that, done it intelligently, and it seems to be working exceptionally well for them. So hats off to Xero.
And what I got from that, I definitely agree with what you just put there, but what I got from it was, first of all, it was amazing that it was the CEO that spotted your comment on Twitter. And you highlighted that is really good social media management, good awareness of his own brand, and they came back very positively and dealt with that, and that was a great thing to identify. But what I really got from that was the support that they're giving to their partners, because they're in this difficult indirect selling situation. Yeah. And it really was kind of like a little bit of I hesitate to say masterclass, but definitely there was some really interesting points there about the support that they give, the effort that they put in to helping these people who really are their indirect sales force. And Penny did actually mention, you say that these people are not aware of the preneur style marketing techniques and things like that. But one of the campaigns that they do is actually to help those partners understand and market themselves. They take it to that extent. They help these financial advisors. And I think there's a lesson there to anybody who has anything, whether it's their own sales force or they have these partners, as Penny called them. But, in the internet space, you have this idea of affiliates. People that go out and promote your products for you. And one of the things that's very often overlooked is supporting that group of people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing a big online launch, you kind of hear about, giving material for your affiliates to mail on. But what else can you do beyond that? Like, what else, if you have an ongoing evergreen type product, can you be doing to support your affiliates? Can you be running webinars? Can you be doing guest posts for them? Can you, do a whole bunch of other stuff to help them drive traffic to grow their pond, which obviously, helps you as well. So it's a very interesting and very smart play. We deal with that everyday type in our telco and in our headset businesses, simplyheadsets.com.au, the big headset site that we have, that is driven by selling products from manufacturers. So obviously their whole path to market is through their reseller channel. Yes, they do advertising and stuff to promote the brand in a similar sort of way to Xero, but fundamentally they don't sell direct to the end user, they sell through people like us. And we kind of take that for granted a little bit, in that it is our world in the telco space, and a lot of industries are driven like that. So it was a really cool conversation in a sort of a digital version of that sort of world that I play in every single day.
And it's another example of how one business environment and the lessons from that can map to any business. There's definitely a lot in that relatively brief conversation. But yeah, there was a lot of value in that, and real silver lining on that little cloud that you put out there, Peter. Excellent. Okay, folks, well, every week we try and run a competition where you can win something from the people that we have on the show. As you know, we have a lot of well-known authors on the show, and very often we have books to give away. But last week's show was our awards show for 2013, and one of the books that we put forward as our book of the year, my book of the year, was Spin Selling from Neil Rackham. Now, if you haven't got a copy, you can win one. And to do that, you need to go to PreneurMarketing.com and leave us a comment on that episode, below that episode. So that's the 2013 Marketing Awards episode, the one just before this. And there'll be a link to that show in the show notes as well, so you can click on that link. And just leave us a comment with whether or not you're using any of those things, or if you might even think that we've missed something and there was something far more significant in 2013 in the categories for that award show.
That's what excites me is... Oh, sorry, Dom, I cut you off. I was going to say, that's what excites me, is hearing stuff that we don't know about. You know, we get a lot of emails and tweets and stuff throughout the year, but it's the perfect time to sort of say, no, hang on, guys, this is what I use every day in my business, in my life, and I love it. Whether it's a tool, a software service, a book, a piece of tech, let us know, because we're keen to sort of, expand our horizons as well through our entire community here. So it's a great chance, as Dom was about to say, that we will, choose 3 of the best comments that we think are, useful for the community. Whether you're saying how you use a current tool, whether you talk about a new tool, whatever it might be, and we will send you a copy of Spin Selling. So there's a massive opportunity. So head over to PreneurMarketing.com, put it in your phone, make some sort of note about it, because it's a very, very easy way to win a copy of a fantastic book, which will no doubt increase your sales and revenue for your business, your job, whatever it might be, throughout 2014. And definitely engage with us and let us know.
Definitely. And on the note of engaging with us, as always, we really do look forward to your feedback. We've had some great feedback with that particular show, the comments below that show note. But we really do want to hear from you folks. And Pete made a really good point. We can learn an awful lot from you. You are out there using stuff every day. There's only so many things we can find. If you're on our list, you'll get from Pete the noise reduction, where Pete gives the stuff that he's found. But a lot of the times, the things that we find or the things we talk to you about, somebody recommended them to us. You're our community, and we really want to hear from you. So do leave us a comment below the show on PreneurMarketing.com. Leave us a little voice note using that thing that's on the side of the screen on PreneurMarketing.com. We love those, and you may even be featured on the show if you leave us one of those. Or leave us an iTunes comment over on iTunes. I believe, can we now take comments on SoundCloud?
Yes, and on Stitcher as well. So
we're now also on Stitcher. So any one of those platforms, folks, however you find us, however you're listening to us, leave us a comment. Join in the conversation. Let us know what you want us to talk about, what you think about what we're talking about. And in response to one of the recent comments, Pete, I'm going to stop there.
I think you mentioned a couple of times that throughout today's episode that some of the feedback has been I can't even say the word. Constructive criticism.
Yes.
About you, which is, appreciated. And if anyone's got some comments about me, let me know. That's what we're here for, to improve and help everyone improve in various ways. So with that said, next week's show is going to be an interesting one.
Yep, it's as we mentioned briefly before. You've been working on these consulting sessions with the Preneur community. You offered your time out there for people, for you to give some perspective on their business and marketing issues. And you picked up on quite a few common themes during those interviews. And we've distilled some of that down into next week's show. We're going to be talking about clarity and distraction.
It's going to be interesting because, as you just alluded to, it's been interesting. I've really enjoyed the start of this year, speaking to a lot of people for an hour from the Preneur community about their business and where they're heading in the next 12 months, and really helping them get clarity around the 7 levers of their business, eliminating the distracting projects, and really getting clear on what it is that they're trying to achieve and why. So that's been really awesome. We're going to, summarise all that and kind of take away and share the big lessons that I was able to learn myself and obviously provide to the community who jumped on those calls as well. So, next week's show is all about clarity and distraction, and looking forward to recording that one with you, mate.
Great. Well, folks, thanks for listening, and we will see you all next week.
You've been enjoying another fine episode of PreneurCast with Pete Williams and Dom Gocher. Make sure to hang out with the boys online at www.preneurmarketing.com or drop them a line via PreneurCast@preneurgroup.com.